quick. We're also going to make sure we have time for questions. Look, the goal of today's workshop or presentation is to basically get you guys all of the main nuggets for your entire consulting recruiting journey. Now, what's really important is obviously this is a 2, 3, 4 month journey, and we're talking about it in an hour session. So I'm trying to get you all of the main parts, okay? But at the end of the day, we are skimming the surface. And everything I tell you, I'm also trying to get you started on that journey of thinking about things the right way. This journey can take, 80 hours of total work, or it can take 500 hours of total work. It's all about what you're doing. For example, if you're using rocket blocks for frameworking, you're never going to be done because it's a horrible resource out there for frameworking. If you're using it for charts and exhibits, you're going to accelerate your timeline because it's a great resource, right? If you're using Leland Plus, you're going to accelerate your timeline. If you're using something like Victor Chang or Case in Point, it's going to take longer. Basically, this whole journey is, yes, it's about working hard, but it's also about working smart. That's what consultants do as well, right? The people who are staying up until 2 a.m. every day were actually not working effectively. The people getting to go home nice and early at 9 p.m. were working effectively. So what I'm going to try to do today is just try to make sure that you guys understand some of the major pitfalls, the most common ones that I see from all of my candidates, and we're going to try to avoid those, okay? But of course, it's going to be the top level stuff. I think you all are familiar with Leland, obviously, having come through here. That code doesn't work, but my counterpart at Leland has shared the code with you in the chat. Okay, so just use that. So really quickly, just about me. I initially worked in IT consulting. Then I pivoted over to strategy consulting with BCG. Went into a little bit of IT and data analytics consulting, and then finally founded, Custom Case Coach, became a coach, partner heavily with Leland, and all of that. And it kind of come from a bit of a hodgepodge of kind of studies, economics, French, business, a couple languages, and the data analytics stuff. So that's me. Just so that you guys kind of understand where we're coming from here. Who's Ian? Why does he know best? I don't always know best, but I like to think I know better a lot of the time on this stuff. Why? So first of all, I came into this, like many of you, no background knowledge. Okay. If you look at everything there, I didn't have most of this when I applied and interviewed at all of these consultancies. I had IT consulting. I had an economics and French degree, right? And so I didn't know anything about this stuff. So zero background knowledge. And I'm getting 8 interviews at 8 consultancies, and I didn't fail a single round. Okay. So that's to let you guys know it's okay if you're coming from a different background. It's okay if you don't know anything about this journey. If you do things in the right way and you work hard, you can succeed. Okay. One of the best consultants at the office that I was working at for at BCG was a professional violinist, actually, the former career at Sydney Opera House. The partner at the firm, one of the first projects I worked on, was a professional flautist, flute player. So, I mean, I did it from IT. They did it from music, right? So you guys can do this, okay? But there's a lot of wrong ways to do it, and there's only a few right ways. So just make sure that you're thinking about how to do this effectively throughout the whole journey. Before you're doing anything, think, okay, why am I doing this? What's the point? Don't go spend 30 hours reading case books in an MBA casebook that was written by MBA students. Spend 10 hours doing live cases with peers, right? Always think about what's effective with your time, okay? And yes, so anyway, over the past 5 years, I've been coaching hundreds of candidates, thousands of coaching sessions. I run workshops and trainings for Leland, for universities like Princeton, Imperial, Michigan Ross, etc., and workshops for some firms like PwC, Strategy, and Carney, all of that good stuff. So I probably should have left it on this first. If you want to see my profile on Leland, feel free. This code will come up later. You can search my name, but anyway, I'm here to help you guys. So let's just jump straight into the agenda for today. As we jump into this, please ask questions. I love the interactive nature of things. Type it into the chat. As long as it's relevant to what we're talking about, I'll jump in and answer. If not, I'll leave it to when we get to that section or at the end. And I'm going to try to leave time at the end for questions as well. Okay. Now, okay, back to, okay. So, I just want to annotate really quickly. I think you guys should be able to see this. Okay. So what we're going to talk about today is the whole journey. I'm going to try to get through all of this. We're talking about how to have a killer resume, how to mass produce your cover letter, how to make sure you're tracking everything well, recruiting and networking, which is absolutely critical. And then, of course, your interview prep. This is really important. You need to be 80% ready before you apply. Okay. So you're getting your resume and mass production cover letter stuff done early, so it's out of the way, but you're starting case prep today. You're not waiting until you have interviews. Okay. This is one of the most important things. Okay. Do not wait to case until you've applied. Do not wait to case until you have an interview. You won't get the job. Okay. You need 2 to 3 months to case prep effectively. All right. So even though this as a timeline chevron kind of thing is at the end, it doesn't mean it's at the end. It is at the same time that you're doing all of this stuff. Okay. Do not click apply unless there's a deadline that you have to make. Okay, cool. If there's an application deadline, do it. But missing that, don't apply unless you're 80% case ready. You won't get ready in time after you've applied. They could invite you to interview in a week. Okay. You won't get ready in a week. Number one feedback or lesson for today. Okay. So really quick, our goal, right? A lot of you guys are on this call for McKinsey, Bain, BCG. That's what I get messaged from my candidates the most, right? I want to get MBB. You know, this is the dream, right? So that's what we're doing and nothing else. Wrong. Great. Shoot for the stars. Shoot for the moon, right? Go for MBB. But you are far more likely to not get MBB than to get it. And that's not, you know, any reflection on all 40 of you, right? It's just that you guys know the odds. So don't make it MBB or nothing. Assume that you're going to get something else. Fight for all of the other things. Understand that all of the other firms are great firms for the most part. And apply. So go for MBB. I applied to 40 firms. You should apply to 40 firms, if not more. Okay. It's just the nature of the beast. I always love when a candidate is like, so Ian, I'm debating between BCG and Bain. And I think I like BCG for this and Bain because of this. And I go, oh, great. You have offers at both? No. I still have to apply. Well, why are you deciding between the two that haven't even asked, you know, given you an offer yet? Apply to all these firms. Plus 10, plus 20, plus 30. Apply to all of them. Interview at all of the ones that invite you. Worst case scenario is practice. When you get an offer, then you can choose. Then you can become the selector. Until then, you are the selectee. Okay? So always aim high, but plan, right? And I'll tell you what, first of all, I applied to BCG when I was an undergrad, didn't even get an interview, ended up working at Appian. Best firm I've ever worked for, way better than BCG. I was way happier at Appian than I was at BCG. I know a lot of people who didn't get into a consultancy and they ended up working for a startup, doing something else out of MBA. A lot of them ended up happier. So just, I'm not saying that this shouldn't be the goal, but once you get offers, then you choose. Okay. And you never know who's going to be the best one for you. All right. Now let's talk about how to actually get these interviews and you know, get your foot in the door. We all know resume is important. It is the biggest filter. It's the first filter, the first pass. Okay, so what matters? First, the template you use. It needs to be clean. It needs to be sharp. It needs to look good. The recruiter, you know, is glancing through these and they make their decision in 20 or 30 seconds. If your resume doesn't look good, it's not going to work, right? Packaging is everything. Then be concise and clear. Okay, so you need your bullet points and your explanations to be very direct. Start each bullet point with a verb, right? Obviously a consulting related verb. Highlight the value you created, and remember that less can sometimes be more. Okay. As in, if you have to cut something, you have to cut something. Right. I remember when I had to cut my, Panera Bread cashier experience, right? It hurt. It was my first job, but it doesn't add value. So less can be more. Okay. Really work hard to get this right. And these same principles apply to any job you're applying for. These principles apply to any job you're applying for. Okay. I get a lot of questions going like, oh, Ian, like I don't have consulting experience. Okay, but you have consulting related experience. Okay. I got a fairly competitive volunteer role at Australia Zoo, and I don't have any zoology experience. I don't have any experience with, I haven't done any studies with zoology, but I got it. How did I do it? I changed my resume. I took all of my past experiences and I modified the verb choice. I modified the value created, right? I cut things that weren't relevant and I highlighted things like working with people. I highlighted things like being adaptable. I highlighted things like, being focused on nature and wildlife and all that. Make sure that you use this to tailor and take the things that you have that you've done that are consulting related values. It doesn't have to be consulting. Okay. Now, when we do that, the way we write our bullet point is really important. So in the chat, I like engagement. So in the chat, can you guys vote on which bullet point you like the best for a resume? I changed the light bulb on a resume, or I single-handedly managed the successful upgrade and deployment of a new environmental illumination equipment with no cost overruns and zero safety incidents. Can everyone in the chat put a 1 or 2 for what they prefer? Okay. Thank you guys. Good engagement. I've had some workshops where no one wants to even type 1 or 2. Beautiful. I'm sorry. It's a trick question. Both are horrible. Both are really bad bullet points. Neither of them should be on your resume. Obviously, changing a light bulb shouldn't be on your resume. So, but jokes aside, neither of these are good bullet points. Okay. Why? Okay. First one. All right, cool. You changed the light bulb. Nice. Like whatever, right? I'm not impressed. I don't know what you did. I have no information about like what it took, what skills you demonstrated, right? So I think most of us agree this one's bad. Why is the second one bad? Because I don't know what the heck it means. When I read it, I have no idea what you actually did. What the heck is a environmental illumination equipment? Right? Single-handedly managed, right? Way too like boastful in a sense. Successful upgrade and deployment. What does that mean? Right? So, and I love that you guys are saying, action verb doesn't tell what it achieves. I love that you guys are thinking that way. I agree. But at its core, what is wrong with it is it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. It's not English, right? And this is we see this when we do frameworks and cases. Words, right? We just throw words out in a framework and we hope it makes sense. These words in this bullet point don't make sense, right? I need to be able to read it and understand it. So what does good sound like? Well, a little bit off the cuff, I would say something as follows, okay? Identified need to replace failing light bulb before failure. Researched 10 light bulb replacement options in market based on cost, durability, luminosity, or, light level, and, aesthetic appeal, right? Selected optimal light bulb based on household needs, installed successfully, minimizing costs and preventing disruption in lighting in household, right? Number 1, I know what that means now. I can understand what happened. Number 2, as you guys were saying in the chat, action verbs, and not just BS action verbs, but real ones like, cool, you analyze the market. You understood the client needs. You were able to handle 4 variables across 10 items and assess those. You took initiative because you saw that there was a problem, right? So there's all these aspects to it where it's like, okay, wait, but I wasn't a consultant. Yeah, but you demonstrated consultant skills and I can see it. Okay. So that's what we want. All right. Really quickly, this is actually a lot of these are on Leland Plus, and these are just some snippets. So I dive into this much more in detail on Leland Plus, which I highly recommend you guys subscribe to. And if you don't like me, there's other coaches that have content as well. So there's that as well. Okay. Here's a before example of a real candidate I had. Okay. After talking with them for a few minutes to like understand what the real role was, we created this. Okay. Here's another one that my candidate had. Mobilized and led Company X digital transformation program. And again, after talking to them, understanding their role, diving deeper, we created this. Led and implemented nationwide X million-dollar digital transformation program for a multinational insurer, develop business case financials, design and set up multi-year program, and manage and govern agile teams of 50 plus while coordinating with goal leadership to ensure alignment with overarching strategy. I know what this person did. We have real verbs that make sense. We have quantification. We have consulting-based skills, right? You managed a multi-year program, you led and implemented, you had a big team, you coordinated with leadership, all of this good stuff. So this is not that second light bulb example. It's the third one, right? Because these are real words and it really makes sense what happened. That's the goal. That's the goal. Now I'm going to answer a couple of these questions. Kate asked for cutting down the resume, but we have more than 10 years experience with some big names in the first part. Should we do a selective work experience section so we can highlight the ones that will help us get noticed or just stick with the most recent? Cade, the answer is it depends on your resume. You need to split up your resume in a way that is eye-catching. So if you've got a big blob of text and that's all it is, then yes, you should split it up so that you have something like selective work experience or leadership experience or something. If you have more than 10 years, sometimes you can have a 2-page resume, or we call it a CV. Or you have to find a way to cut down the bullet points and have your experiences be a little bit smaller. Unfortunately, Cade, my answer to that is completely dependent on your resume. A, you have to have sections. B, you have to cut out exact experiences. Or C, you have to make those experiences shorter. Or D, you have to have a 2-pager. I don't know without looking at your resume. But the main thing is cut out anything that's not relevant. Okay. Yeah, sorry, that one's hard without seeing your resume. Every resume is different and has to be kind of crafted on its own. Nishi asked, my pleasure for hosting. I had so with AI tools getting better at analysis and even generating strategies, what parts of consulting do you think are most at risk of being automated, and what skills will always need the human consultant? It's such an amazing question. I really, really want to answer it. I have so many thoughts on that, but I'd talk for 30 minutes if I did. Everything's going to be automated in a way. Just go look at the Industrial Revolution, the technological revolution, all of that. Okay. It's always going to be augmentation. So just look at what it's automating, low human capital, and make sure that you have what is needed to work with it, i.e. high human capital. Apart from that, hard to say. One thing I will say is please don't overuse AI for consulting prep. AI is the lowest common denominator of human thinking. It doesn't mean it's bad, but I can go into so many examples where I've used it knowing what I'm asking and I see it give the wrong answer. If you are trying to use it to learn, you're going to learn incorrectly. If you're using it to augment what you already know, you're going to use it well. A lawyer can use it to draft legal documents. You, not as a lawyer, cannot. I, as someone who speaks French, can use it to remind myself of some grammatical structures, but I can't use it to learn vocab because it always says I'm right. It tells me that like la maison means a mountain. It doesn't, right? But it tells me I'm right. So just be careful because they predict words. So when using AI for any of your prep resume creation, basically don't use it. You have to do it yourself. Once you build up the human capital, you can use AI to augment yourself. Okay. But I wish I could answer that question in full, but that's its own workshop probably. Um, Tino Tenda asked about one pager. My advice is if you have 10 years experience, you have a one pager and you have a two pager. So the one pager is called a resume. The two pager is called a CV. And when I say two pager, it could even be three. Have two versions. Once you get to 10 years experience, lots of roles, you can have a one pager and you can have a multi pager. Okay. Oh, Teberek, you read my mind. Awesome. Yeah, please don't use AI for interview prep. I'm telling you. I have so many examples. I've used it to help with my fantasy football team, and like it tells me that X player in 2025 is a starter, and I know that they're injured or retired, and it thinks that they're not. So just if you don't know stuff, don't use AI to learn it. Okay. Okay. Thank you for all the questions. Moving on to cover letter. On Leland, there are a ton of example resumes, before and afters, sample templates from me, but also from other consultant or coaches. So definitely check that out. Cover letter, this one's huge. Okay. In most situations in life, most people always say more, right? The problem is you can't do everything. I'm a big believer in less when it's not needed. You have only so many hours in a day. You only have so much energy. So why would we do everything? Mass produce your cover letter. Do not write a cover letter per firm. It's painful. It sucks. They're low impact. And you're going to exhaust yourself. All of that time should be spent on other stuff. So mass produce your cover letter. Meaning, figure out your paragraphs on their own. Right. Each paragraph in the middle part of your cover letter is about a skill that you have and you defending that skill, right? A skill that the firm wants that you have and you showing them that you have it, right? Figure out those paragraphs first, build them out on their own, about three to five, get them really good. Okay. And then when you're writing for company A, you double check their job description, the company website, look at the skills, and then you slot in the paragraphs that you match with. You tweak the language just in terms of what the skills are. You tweak the intro paragraph again for the skills in the company. And there you go. If you do this properly, following these steps, you can write a cover letter in 20 minutes. You already have the paragraphs. You have the intro, you have the conclusion, and they're identical. You just change some words, and then you have the paragraphs that you'll choose to slot in. Okay? Huge. This can save you 10, 20 hours and a lot of headache, maybe more. That's all. The whole flow setup, how I do it, that's all in Leland Plus. Because of the short workshop, I just want to make sure to get through everything. But search cover letter on Leland Plus. You'll see the template. You'll see how I do this. You'll see what the paragraphs look like. Okay. Huge. One of the biggest time savers. Okay. What do you do with the extra time? All right. Definitely case prep. But there's something else. You need to network. Oh, sorry. One quick thing. Application tracker, stay organized where you've applied and the deadlines and all that. Okay. Don't lose track. So with your extra time, case prep and network. Okay. Why do I get to say this? Because I've looked at the data. I've done regression analysis on about 20, 25 variables across 500 students and about 5,000 application records across those students with NYU. So I was at New York University, Stern. I proposed to them in my midway through my first year, why don't we do a data analytics initiative where we grab our existing data, run a survey to supplement it across 3 MBA schools, and then run regression analysis across that to actually identify the variables or the things that students can do to actually impact their chances of getting an interview. I actually did this across getting an interview and passing the first round. I wanted to figure out what actually matters. So I grabbed all of their backend data. I ran a survey, and the results were extremely compelling around a few main areas. But one of the main ones is how important networking is. Any of you that know data well, I understand that this does not prove causation. I can promise you that I proved causation. Kind of like the AI question. I won't dive too much into it, but I isolated this across a couple other things to show that this was causation, not correlation. As in, it's not just like really, really good people networked a lot and they were going to get the interviews anyway because they had strong resumes. This truly showed that the impact of the result of networking was a higher chance of interviews than you otherwise would have received. Okay. P-value was less than 0.05. Correlation coefficient was like, it was about like 0.25. Highly correlative, highly causative. It is one of the most important short-term things that you can do to get the interview. Cover letter, you just needed to have one. This was a table stakes item. Just have one, right? Networking, huge impact. Okay, Ian, so I should have 5 to 6 contacts per firm for a 70% rate? No, that's not what this means, okay? But what it means is whatever your base odds are, they are drastically increased by networking, which also is correlated to referrals. So try to get referrals. They're very important. This is backed up by like pretty much anything you see in academic papers, LinkedIn, all that, right? 80% of jobs nowadays are through some sort of contact with the firm. You know, cold applications are less successful than warm ones. Network, okay? It's so important. How do I do it? Okay, well, first of all, you have people in your network. You have people once removed from your network. But then also you have people similar to you. Are you from 2 countries? Do you speak a couple of languages? Did you go to a certain university? Did you work at a certain company? Did you major in something? Were you part of a fraternity or sorority? Okay, go on LinkedIn and match with people that have a similar background to you. Whatever is on your resume is a potential filter on LinkedIn. Tailor a message. You can even mass produce it for a certain filter type and reach out. Okay. This is a numbers game. There's ways to do this highly ineffectively and there's ways to do this effectively. Think through what messages make sense. Think through how to do this for a good value and time ratio. Okay. When you get on calls with people, what's important is to be able to convert those. Okay. So you're using these 3 types of connections and tailored messages, authentic, genuine ones, to get on calls. There's 2 things you should do on the call. Okay. 2 main things. First, no one does this. I'm telling you, this changes everything. Play tag. What does that mean? You're on a call with Amy. Amy doesn't know you because you reached out on LinkedIn, but she's really lovely and decided to have a call with you. She has a wall that is up, right? So over the course of 30 minutes, you can be really charming, persuasive, build a good rapport, but now her wall is halfway up, right? It's not all the way down. She might give you a referral. More likely than not, she won't. But if you ask Amy, hey, can you put me in touch with anyone that's in the Boston office? Because that's where I'm really interested. Or, hey, I noticed, you came in through the non-MBA route and came in as an associate or an entry level and worked your way up. I'm coming in through the MBA route. Do you happen to know anyone that did the MBA route so I can more understand what that kind of looks like, what that journey looks like, right? Or you're in pharmaceuticals. I'm really interested in FMCG, right? Do you happen to know anyone in that industry vertical? Because I'd love to learn more about the projects. All right. Amy now emails Joe, tags you, CCs you, and says, hey, Joe, just met with blah, blah, blah. They're lovely. They're interested in X. Can you speak with them? Joe now has a call with you. Where is Joe's wall? It's not up here, right? Joe's wall is halfway, a quarter of the way, because he knows Amy, right? He knows Amy, and by association, he knows you, which means in the course of a 30-minute call, you can get the wall all the way down. This second person is far more likely to give you a referral or put you in touch with HR. Okay. So play tag. The other benefit is then, if you send 20 messages and you only get 1 response, right? That takes time and effort. With Joe, it didn't take any extra time or effort. You've kept the thread alive. Okay. So try to get a couple of tags in. Okay. Then in terms of referral, don't ask directly. My advice is never ask directly for a referral. If you really think you can pull it off, if you're that type of person, awesome. I never was. But you can, to answer Jeanette's question, you read my mind, hinting at a referral, saying something like, this has been so helpful. Really, really appreciate your time. By the way, this has really reaffirmed my interest in the company. I'm going to be applying in the coming weeks or months. Do you have any advice for me as I embark on that journey? Right. Or I'm definitely going to be applying in a couple of weeks. I'll keep you posted. Anything you think I can do to increase my chances or my odds, like any advice you have for me, right? If they want to give you a referral, at that point, they will. If they don't, they won't. Okay. Keep it genuine, keep it authentic. Okay. Okay. I recommend mass producing your tailored messages. So find your filter and then create a tailored, authentic message. I don't like to, I have a folder with examples of ones I've received and I mark them as good and bad. But here I just want you guys to create your own, start to experiment, be authentic, use your own words. Okay. For the calls themselves, just please make sure you prepare. Like, yes, you're learning about the firm, but you should already understand a bit about the company, have done your research about the company and the person, have tailored questions, not generic, BS-y ones. And make sure you've got, your elevator pitch or your short 30 minutes or 30 seconds. Sorry, not 30 minutes, 30 seconds of why you're interested in consulting, why the company and resume walkthrough. Please don't go, I am interested in consulting because of three. Please talk like a human, right? So for these, yes, be prepared, but that doesn't mean be robotic, okay? Be authentic, be genuine, be able to defend why you're interested in these things and be able to talk through yourself, but in a realistic human way, okay? During the coffee chat, be inquisitive, be interested. Right? They ask you, they answer a question, have a follow-up, right? Look at I don't know, Robert Frost or that guy in 60 Minutes. What does a good interview look like? A real authentic exchange between two people, okay? This is not an interrogation, it's a conversation, okay? Talk to them, get to know them, okay? And then after, reflect on the role. Maybe the company's not right for you, right? Think about if you can adjust your cover letter or resume. Write down notes. So use a tracker for this as well. And then please send a thank you note. It's not going to change anything if you send it, but if you don't send it, it's just not good, right? Send a thank you note within 24 hours. Just thanks for the time. I thought this was so interesting, X was so interesting or whatever. Really appreciate it. I'll keep you posted on my journey, right? Just like you need an application tracker to not get lost with applications, you should have a recruiting tracker or a networking tracker to make sure you've just kept track of people. Nothing crazy, but you should have notes on the conversation. You should know where they're from, what office, and if they might be a referral or anything like that. Okay. Hey, GS, what's a good script for the first coffee chat? We're not a call center. We're not a call center. There's no good script. Sorry to be so direct. Do not create a script for your case, for your behavioral interview, for anything in life. Don't create a good script. Don't create a script. Be a human. You know how to have a conversation with someone, right? You've done it in the street. You've gone on dates, all that kind of stuff. Same thing. Right? Have a conversation. By the way, that's advice for your behavioral interview as well. Have a conversation. People, oh, how do I prepare for all the questions? You don't. There's 1,000 questions. How do you interact with someone in the street or in class or on a date? You don't go and think all 1,000 things that they could ask you. You listen to their question and you respond, right? There's no scripts here. There's human interaction. I make it sound simple and easy. I know it's harder than that, but it really is that simple. It is hard, but it is simple. Be a human, have an interaction. Tino Tenda asked, randomly bumped into a BCG partner on a dog walk over COVID restrictions. I love it. Recommended you to the talent person, skip the application process, but bomb the interview. Yeah, 100%. This is great, Tino Tenda. Yeah, so people matter, okay? The world is people. That's how we've evolved biologically. Everything works through people, so connections are everything. The advice here is not to go walking your dog and try to meet BCG partners. This is obviously lucky, but luck is also seizing opportunity, right? Or success is seizing luck when it appears. But Tino Tendo really interesting, bomb the interview, you probably didn't have enough time to prepare, right? But I love that. I love that. Daniel asked, for someone with blah 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 and blah 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 and blah blah blah, how would a person get into a consulting firm? Why did I replace Daniel's question with blah 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 blah? Because it doesn't matter. Do everything I'm telling you here. I don't care what your major is, what your degree is, what school, what country, what background. Do what I'm telling you here. That's how you get into a consulting firm. Though Daniel with economics, master's in educational leadership, it sounds like you're qualified. Like you shouldn't have a problem. Follow my stuff here. Yeah. Yeah, Tino Tendo, I know you just bumped in. I mean, I had a chat with someone with Amazon on a plane once, and they offered me a job. Stay open to opportunities. Okay. So that's application preparation and recruiting and networking. Okay. Resume, get a killer resume. It still matters. Look at what really matters in the resume and how to be concise and actually speak English in it. Right. Cover letter, mass produce it as a table stakes item. Save a lot of time on that. Just get your paragraphs ready. Right. Application tracking. Don't lose track of deadlines, offices, all of that. Okay. Networking, one of the most important short-term things you can do to get a interview. One of my favorite things is networking outside of school and relating to people that have a similar background to you. Okay. Hint at a referral and play tag. All right. Interview prep. Remember, prep before you apply. Prep before you apply. Okay. And as I talk about interview prep, I actually want to address Tino Tendo's point. So Tino Tendo said, they drilled me on questions I hadn't prepared for. Well, of course. Of course. What do you mean? Questions yet? How many questions are out there that they can ask? Literally infinity. They can ask you anything they want. Explain nuclear energy to my 7-year-old daughter. What courses are you taking and why? Right? What do you think of the NATO rearmament in the face of Ukraine, of Russia, right? They can ask you anything. And of course they'll ask what else. So, when you go into a date, when you go into a conversation with someone at school, do you drill and prepare yourself for every question that person could ask? Of course not. Do you still manage to have a normal human conversation? Of course. Why am I pointing this out? For all of your interview prep, please don't go, I need to study and memorize everything and read all 900 pages of my biology textbook to be ready for the biology test. This is not an exam. So it's not an examination. It's a simulation. As consultants, we come in and we have to dynamically respond to anything that comes our way. Do not have a list of questions you prepare for. Be prepared for anything. Practice being surprised by a question and build the muscle of hearing something you don't understand and figuring it out. Hearing something you don't know or haven't prepped for and figuring out. That's your prep. Not learning every single possible case type. It's impossible. I don't know every case type. I've been doing this for 6-7 years.